IMSA fans, we have our dear friend, IMSA President John Doonan. John, we are here. IMSA is back. The TireRack.com Battle on the Bricks, the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but I wanted to start with one item that I know it's why you're smiling. We're standing here on the track at a very specific spot for a reason. Tell us about little Johnny Doonan, Illinois, and what the Brickyard means to him, because this is a very special place to you.
It sure is, and I was 7. It was 1977, and right about where I guess this box 24 is, about, I'd say 15 rows up, is where I sat by myself actually to watch my first Indianapolis 500. And
Wow.
If my dad was here today, he'd probably be arrested, because I recall specifically walking from a little house we stayed at on Allison Avenue, which is 2 blocks west, and we were walking to the track, and he bought a ticket from a guy, scalping tickets, and he had a little styrofoam cooler, and I had my clipboard and my stopwatch that I brought to all the races. I had my ear muffs, and Dad walked me to that seat and said, "You stay here until the race is over, and I'll come back and get you." And you think about child abandonment,
Yes.
but it was a special moment. Obviously, I'd watched and heard about the 500 for 7 years. We were a road racing family, sports car racing family. IMSA was the focus, but to be here, AJ won his 4th, and that was the start of a tradition to be at and around the 500 every year ever since. But a lot of fond memories.
Yes.
Being there under the canopy, and really, really amazing to bring IMSA back to the Brickyard.
Let's start walking, and we're about to set foot over the yard of bricks. So this is something that you and the entire executive team, everyone in your paddock, everyone wanted to be back at Indianapolis. Tell us about that process of making it happen, because we're not just starting off this year with the 2-hour and 40-minute WeatherTech SportsCar Championship race.
Yeah.
We've got some great stuff coming for the future here as well.
Yeah, you look at our schedule, and we've always talked about date and venue equity, but you also look at the iconic facilities that we race at. No doubt, Daytona International Speedway, the Rolex 24, kicking off with that. You got Sebring, you got Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, you've got Watkins Glen. So those have been our pillars. But now to add Indianapolis back into the portfolio of races, the brand that is Indianapolis, that is the Speedway, and then to add another endurance race to the Michelin Endurance Cup next year. It's really a great moment in our history. Of course, raced here, I believe, back in 2014 the last time.
Yep, 2012 through 2014.
9 years ago, but to be back, I'm happy for all the teams and drivers. They get to, in many cases, check off a bucket list racetrack. For our partners, they want to activate here.
That's a huge thing. They all said, we want to be at Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's a good market, of course. It's a Midwestern market. Of course, we're at Road America and Elkhart Lake, but Indianapolis means something to them. And the camping piece. I mean, when Mr. France and Mike Helton and Ed Bennett and I are talking, we talk about the fact that you come to an IMSA race, the camping, the families in the infield, the next generation of fan, and Mr. Penske, Mark Miles, Doug Bowles, they said, not only do we want to have you back, we want to open up infield camping for the first time. That's all the pieces of the puzzle are there, and it I think made this addition to the calendar really an extra bonus.
Doesn't hurt when Roger Penske, the person who owns the Speedway, is also a lifelong sports car racer. We know him for Indianapolis and all the almost 20 wins here at the Indy 500, but also knowing Roger, lifelong lover of sports car racing too. That doesn't hurt. So you mentioned next year, this event again, starting off at what we'd call a standard length IMSA race. We're going to a long race next year, half of IMSA's WeatherTech Championship events. Proper endurance races. Talk about what we're going to have when we come back next year, John.
Yeah, so we announced back in the first week of August they're going to add a 5th endurance race for the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, part of the Michelin Endurance Cup. This will be a 6-hour race on that Sunday. We're establishing what that's going to look like with a 4-hour Michelin Pilot race this weekend.
Into the darkness.
Daylight into darkness.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of the calendar of the weekend next year depends on television windows, but to bring a 6-hour, and to your point, to have half of the season be part of the Endurance Cup, the other half to be what you would consider, sprint or shorter format events, gives a lot of variety to the calendar. And you look at the street races, the natural terrain circuits, tracks like this in Daytona that have a Roval feel. It's got everything that people would want, and I think you're seeing it in the teams that are coming, the drivers that are coming, and definitely in what our forecast is for entries for next year.
I'm going to talk about entries in just a moment. I'm going to try and pry some numbers out of you here, break a little bit of news, but wanted to touch on one other thing that I think is very important to note. We have hybrid race cars racing at Indianapolis for the first time in terms of a feature marquee class, IMSA's Grand Touring prototypes. These amazing, powerful, high-tech Acuras, BMWs, Cadillacs, Porsches. We're doing something new. We're setting a trend. We know IndyCar will be here racing next year with their hybrids, but I do think it's important to note that here's IMSA setting yet another trend.
Yeah, I think back to IMSA's founding, Bill France, John Bishop, they wanted this to be a place where manufacturers told their story, whether it's specific to their brand and how the cars look, or as a powertrain, engine, in this case now different type of propulsion, tell that story and how it relates to what they're doing on the road car side and in the marketplace. So for us to have launched GTP in 2023, the way that we have and did, and the commitment from the manufacturers to be here, to tell us this is the sweet spot right now for us, performance, with sustainability, with the noise and the sound, and you just did some videos recently about the fact that these cars still sound the part.
Yep.
That's critical for the fans. They're coming here to see a sports car race. They want to see variety. They want to see the sounds or hear the sounds and see the cars that they can identify with. So to break that ground here and be the first hybrids to race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think that's a testament to what the manufacturers have committed to. And there's 4 here now, but there's more coming,
Yes.
as you know. So
We will have the Baby Bull. We'll have Lamborghini here with us next year. More entries in general in GTP. Give me some numbers, John. Give folks an idea of numbers. I know that there's a limit to how many full season entries IMSA can accommodate due to pit lane size and such, but give folks an idea of the subscription. Folks would love to be here.
yeah, I stopped at the registration office this morning and talked to Angela Hall, and when you combine premium entries, folks just doing the Michelin Endurance Cup, and now our standard entries opening up, we're at 65 entries.
This is across the 4-class structure.
That's correct, for the WeatherTech Championship. You're right about space. It starts with pit lane. You only have so many pit stalls that you want to jam everybody into. It needs to be properly laid out based on the GT cars and the prototypes. We obviously want it to be safe. That's number one. And then you have a variety of tracks with different pit lane sizes. So we have to look at our class mix at each of the venues. But we've said already in the press, 60 cars at Daytona for sure. But the rest of the season, you'll be maxed at places like Road America. And how big that place is. But also Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen. You're talking nipping at 60 cars at those events. For the first time, and I've been watching IMSA just like you since the early to mid 70s. For the first time, we're not going to have to leave Motul Petit Le Mans to hear the 2024 full season entry list. Which, same, makes my hair stand up. It's really, really, really good for the sport. It gives everybody a longer runway to talk about their program, to talk about their driver announcements, to unveil liveries.
This fills an entire off season. So that to me is the really powerful thing here. Instead of finishing middle of October or so, the current season, and then waiting a few months for the next one to start, you're filling an entire off season with content.
No, it's incredible, and you're right. The storytelling around these programs will be maximized from the drop of the checkered flag on October 14th till we fast forward to a December test, till we fast forward to the Roar Before the 24, and then, of course, the Rolex 24.
John, of the many things I'm excited about for next year, and maybe you could fill in a little bit more for folks, GTD, the class that is always just overflowing with entries, is amazing. Having recently launched GTD Pro, a place for auto manufacturers to battle head to head, we have a solid class size this year. You were telling me earlier, oh, if you like what we have this year in GTD Pro, wait till we get to 2024.
Yeah, you can expect at the moment a hope of doubling the class size in GTD Pro, and Ford's announced their intention to come with the Mustang, of course. I've seen some testing and heard some testing. The new Corvette GT3 car. Then you bring the staples of Ferrari, Aston Martin, Acura, Porsche, Lamborghini, Lexus.
You mentioned Ford coming in with the Mustang, this wild looking and sounding GT3 car. Yet again, another big partner investing in IMSA, not just with the WeatherTech Championship, but also a single make class, Ford Mustang Challenge, where you want to go race these wild V8 powered machines, all to learn and hopefully train and move upwards. Tell folks about that, because that's a really vital part of what IMSA does.
It is, and that single make portfolio is something we hold near and dear to our heart. And
37 of those classes, I believe we have now.
we're getting there.
Wow.
Last weekend I spent at Road America with Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah.
We have this weekend Lamborghini Super Trofeo and Porsche Carrera Cup. Ford unveiled the Mustang in Charlotte a couple months back. We have Mazda MX-5 Cup. So
the world's favorite.
The way that we look at those single makes is those are prized possessions of those manufacturers. When you think of Ford, you think of the Mustang. When you think of Mazda, you think of the MX-5 Miata, obviously the 911, Lamborghini with the Huracan, of course Ferrari with the 488, soon to be 296 in Ferrari Challenge. We believe that those are instrumental in our relationship with those OEMs. The fact that they've given us their prized possession to take care of. It's an entry point, as you say, for drivers.
Yes.
It's an entry point for teams that
engineers,
it's hospitality people, PR people. So much like my previous life, we had a ladder system. I see these single makes as being that, and it's my hope that they can use these series with 2 races on the weekend for pretty much all of them as a launch pad to maybe seeing some of those teams enter Michelin Pilot Challenge or ultimately the WeatherTech Championship.
We're starting to get into the banking of Turn 1 here at the
iconic
Turn 1.
I can feel it.
And in Indianapolis. Let's close on this, John. So at the beginning of this year, launching GTP and these hybrid prototypes, along with the great classes we already had, GTP is changing the landscape for IMSA. More fans at every event, more ratings television-wise, social media's taking off. Folks love this combination of all the real amazing supercars on the GT side and these halo hybrid GTP cars. Let's close on that. Tell us about this, because IMSA On The Rise, I think we know the reasons why.
I'm really happy for our sport of endurance sports car racing. I'm happy for our fans. They're the ultimate beneficiaries of all of the new additions. They've spoken by coming to the events.
Yes.
Most every event thus far seeing record attendance. Obviously, just most recently at Road America, an all-time record since 1979.
These are real things. It's not PR spin. You
no,
can see with your eyes.
That's right. And then I think just the fact that we have launched GTP the way we have and told the stories through our Win the Weekend presented by Michelin, docuseries, to be able to not only have the core 4 that we started the season with, but to have Alpine announce in June that they're coming to the LMDH technical regulations. Hopefully we'll see them someday down the road. It just adds to that momentum. So whether it's watching us on NBC Sports or being at an event or watching us through social, there's a tremendous amount of momentum right now that I think is only benefiting, again, the fans, but our partners that are here and that have seen IMSA as a marketing platform, and more things to come, I hope. I'm just really, really proud of how our staff and how everybody in the communities banded together to try to do what's right for the growth of the sport, and we're going to keep doing that.
Amen. This is the only time I'm on the top part of the banking, only time I'll be taller than our favorite D3 basketball player / IMSA president, John Doonan. TireRack.com, Battle on the Bricks this Sunday. An amazing weekend of IMSA competition. If you can, be here. You're going to want to see it. Make sure you follow along with us on IMSA's official YouTube channel. Follow IMSA Racing on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. We're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff with some pretty cool people, some pretty cool race cars. Visit IMSA.com to hear the action called live and download the official IMSA app to follow the timing and scoring information as the sessions take place.